Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Brandy Bradley.
Mama gets her rocks off, watching Desperate Housewife. Daddy works his ass off, paying for the good life. Kids on the YouTube learning how to be cool, living in a cruel world pays to be a...
Well, hello, Freedom Fest Patriots. How are we doing? Thank you for being here at the Rocky Mountain Freedom Fest, where we celebrate faith, family, and freedom in the state of Colorado. It is my honor to introduce a true warrior for parental rights and a fierce defender of our children, Erin Lee. That's right. Erin is a devoted mom who, like so many of us, had her world turned upside down when radical gender ideology entered her daughter's life through her public school. Instead of staying silent, Erin stood up. She fought back. She co-founded Protect Kids Colorado, and she has become one of the strongest voices in our state and across the nation, exposing secret social transitions, challenging harmful school policies, and pushing back against laws that put government and activists between parents and their children. And I will tell you, sitting on committees, when she comes to testify, she gives Democrats a run for their money, and I love every single minute of it. Her courage, her testimony, and her relentless advocacy have inspired countless families to speak truth, protect innocence, and reclaim their God-given rights as parents. Erin isn't just fighting for her own kids, she's fighting for every child in Colorado and beyond. And let's talk about the ballot initiatives, right? 3 great ones. To protect kids, Erin Lee and 3,000 Grassroots volunteers went everywhere, went to churches, went to concerts, and got your signatures. And this November, we get to vote to protect kids finally in the state of Colorado. Praise the Lord. Please join me in giving a huge Freedom Fest welcome to my hero, Erin Lee.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Erin Lee.
When this world's big enough for all different views, when we all can worship.
Wow, that's a welcome. Thank you so much, Brandy and Freedom Fest. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. My name's Erin Lee, and I am a recovering leftist. I've been clean now for 5 years. I live up in Wellington, which is near the Wyoming border, which means I'm like the opposite of Sarah Palin. I can see freedom from my house. My red pill moment 5 years ago came when my little girl, at just 12 years old, as you heard, was secretly transitioned in a gender and sexuality club disguised as an art club. It was 2021. We had just moved here from Florida. I actually, at the time, thought Florida was too conservative for me. Lesson learned. She was manipulated by a trusted art teacher. It was the height of COVID. She's a shy, artsy kid. And she was led to come to this art club, GSA, disguised as an art club, run by an organization called Skittles for kids 2 and up to talk about gender and sex. These women in this club told my girl, if you're not fully comfortable in your body or your biological sex, that means you're transgender. And of course she adopted that label. What 12-year-old girl is fully comfortable in her body? Raise your hand if you're a full-grown woman and you're fully comfortable in your body every day. She was just starting puberty. They celebrated her new identity. They taught her concepts like polyamory and puberty blockers. They asked my little girl who she was sexually attracted to, and when she didn't know, they said that means you're queer. And they glitter bombed her with stickers and flags and bracelets. They connected with her online on Discord and WhatsApp, which are teen chat platforms that they know parents are not monitoring. Thank God my daughter broke the rule of art club, which is what you hear in here, keep in here. But after years of identity indoctrination in public schools, showering her with this trans affirmation, having secret communications with her, and sowing seeds of mistrust that parents might not be safe, our little girl fell deep into that confusion. It took almost a year to get her out of trans identity. And foolishly, when we went to the school, upset with how they had secretly transitioned our little girl, we became the bad guys. Within days, they involved Child Protective Services on our family and sent a mandated reporter to our home. And in Colorado, If you don't affirm your child's wrong sex confusion, that is considered abuse. When we exercised our right to Colorado Open Record Act, we discovered just how deeply seated this ideology is in our schools. We learned that a self-proclaimed genderqueer, shape-shifting blood witch had been invited to the club that day to indoctrinate my child. She trains district staff on how to medicalize kids, vilifying parents who won't go along with it, even teaching all 28,000 student district staff how to write a gender-affirming healthcare letter for kids to be medicalized. Our girls' confusion and piecing together what had happened was the darkest, scariest year of our entire lives. Therapy made her worse. We found out the hard way that here in Colorado, if you take your child to a licensed counselor, they are legally obligated to only affirm gender confusion. Therapy made her worse. And it led to, in December of 2021, 6 months after that art club incident, our daughter left us a suicide note. And we were bullied by doctors and therapists and gaslit with what I call the suicide myth. Would you rather have a living son or a dead daughter? Go along with it or lose her. Transition or die. It took us almost a year to get our little girl out of the gender cult, which included days she absolutely hated us, days she hated herself. That suicide note was the scariest moment of our lives after these sick adults had planted and affirmed this delusion that she had been born wrong. We felt so alone, just trying to make sense of what had happened to our little girl in that school to help her be comfortable in her body as the beautiful little girl that God had made her to be, just fighting to keep her alive. When she finally came out of the dark cloud, largely in part to my amazing husband who never gave an inch to this identity, who never stopped fighting for our girl, shout out to the strong dads. We need more of them. We watched What is a Woman with our daughter. Have any of you seen the Matt Walsh film, What is a Woman? And as we were watching it, she said, "Mom, why didn't I understand this was happening to me when it was happening?" I said, "Well, that's by design. They took advantage of you." And she said, "How do I make sure this doesn't happen to other little girls?" And that was my light bulb moment. I said, "We have to tell your story." And I foolishly thought that people would side with me. Again, remind you, I was a leftist at the time. So I went to all the local news outlets thinking that they would agree what happened to us was wrong. I was wrong. None of them were willing to take our story. My community turned on me. I live near Fort Collins, or what I like to call Boulder Plus, nowadays with CSU. And I started to get death threats and bullied and attacks just for speaking up about what had happened to our daughter. I eventually found my way to Kim Munson, and then John Caldera, and then a journalist friend at the Epic Times, and boom, within a week, I was on Tucker Carlson. And I didn't even know who Tucker Carlson was, but I continued to say yes. I got on to Glenn Beck and Fox News, and the more I spoke, the more families reached out with similar stories. I went from thinking we were alone on an island dealing with this, to now 5 years later, I have helped thousands of families who have been through similar circumstances. It's very common. One of the families that came forward to me eventually became our co-plaintiffs on our federal lawsuit. Same teacher, same club, except their little girl followed the rule, what you hear in here, keep in here, and did not tell her parents. And a year after that club, she actually attempted suicide, drinking bleach, and almost died. I've met families here in this state who have lost custody to Child Protective Services or family court. Over a dozen dads and two-parent households have been gag ordered. They're afraid to speak up. They're just desperately trying to help their kids through this. But in the state of Colorado, if you don't go along with this, you are considered abusive. So it was by the grace of God that we were able to overcome. Our story is only unique in that we got our girl out of the cult. And let me be clear, gender ideology is a cult. We got her out in one piece. And the number one thing I'm asked is, how is your daughter doing now? So I'm happy to report that she is a happy, healthy, beautiful 17-year-old girl. She has a job, a boyfriend. She wants to be a doctor. She's applying for colleges. She is an incredible overcomer. But wow, have I learned through this process that this issue of gender ideology and the assault on our kids and our parental rights is so pervasive. I like to say that transgenderism is our state-mandated religion in Colorado. How many of you know that there are over 20 laws that mandate gender ideology in this state? Over 20. And I encourage you right now to pull out your phone, go to protectkidscolorado.org. On my resources page, the very first resource is a list of over 20 laws that have been passed since the communist takeover when Jared Polis took office in 2019. And I'm going to just ramble some of them for you. It's overwhelming, but it's important for you to know what rights have been stripped from you so that you know how to take them back. So since 2019, they passed a law that 12-year-olds control their own health care. Therapists must affirm gender-confused kids. There's a mandate teaching gender ideology in all 5th grade sex ed. There's a mandate teaching gender ideology in all 1st grade social studies curriculum. There's a mandate for mental health screening of all 6th through 12th graders, and the results don't go to the parents, they go to the school. And the kids are referred to the state's mental health program called I Matter. There's a law mandating teachers must socially transition kids and lie to parents about it. There's a mandate that foster families must be willing to both socially and medically transition kids. And by the way, 60% of foster families are Christians, so who does that one hurt? It hurts all the kids who need a loving home. There's a mandate that felons who identify as transgender are able to completely eliminate their criminal history and legally change their name. There's a mandate that AI must prioritize the lies of gender ideology over truth. You may have seen that Elon Musk himself is suing the state of Colorado over that dumb law. This one's a doozy, probably the dumbest law I've ever heard of. There's a law, it's House Bill 251109, that forces coroners to lie about the biological truth on the death certificate. And you may have seen, we stay on Libs of TikTok just about every day. You may have seen on Libs of TikTok in Grand Junction, there was a man identified as a woman who stabbed someone at a Dairy Queen. He fled, he was shot, and the coroner reported him as a woman. And they cited the reason, this law right here, that on the scientific document of the death certificate, they are mandated by law to record gender identity. So congratulations to Colorado. We are now the first state to see an uptick in women dying from prostate cancer. There's a law, 1309, that mandates insurance companies and Colorado taxpayers must cover any cosmetic procedure that any doctor deems medically necessary for a trans-identified person. And within this law, they listed skin tightening, eyebrow lift, breast implants, wrong sex hormones. So a woman who's recovering from breast cancer is not guaranteed coverage for breast reconstruction, but a man who believes he's a woman, you are all paying for his breast implants and hair implants and skin tightening. They passed 1312 last year. How many of you have heard of House Bill 1312? Worst bill in the history of the world. This mandates that every single one of you, all of us sitting here in a place of public accommodation, must call that man a woman, or suffer the fate of Jack the Cake Baker, that no one can speak biological truth without consequence in the state of Colorado. Good news, my organization, Protect Kids Colorado, filed the first federal lawsuit against that law, and it's looking good because it's unconstitutional. Senate Bill 129 gives the middle finger to Childs v. Salazar. That mandates that licensed counselors are open to unlimited civil liability for telling kids that they are the biological sex. They must affirm. So we challenged the law, ADF, all the way to the Supreme Court, and preemptively, our representatives had already run a law to buck back. And that was signed on June 1st as a pride celebration by Jared Polis. House Bill 129 this year, Senate bill, gives complete coverage to gender butchers. So if you are butchering children, cutting off their healthy body parts, giving them wrong sex hormones, there is no course of action to be sued. You are virtually untouchable. We have become the child mutilation sanctuary state out of all 50 states. I have friends in California who call me and go, oh, wow, you're worse than us. What's happening there on this issue is worse than what's happening in California and Washington combined. And again, Jared Polis has signed every single one of these into law. This year they passed 1309, which defines good parenting, like not transitioning your child or monitoring their screen time or cutting off toxic friendships, as coercive control or a misdemeanor abuse charge. So it's now illegal to be a good parent in the state of Colorado. And then they also passed Senate Bill 18 this year, which allows children to legally change their name, and it seals those court documents. So I know that was a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose. As Brandy said, I spend a lot of time at the Capitol, and I always joke when I leave that I have to take 3 showers, do 10 Hail Marys, douse myself in holy water, and do a juice cleanse, because that place is evil. So give love to your representatives who are there fighting the good fight. It's not without lack of trying to block these laws, but with a supermajority of radical socialists, this is how far we've gotten. And how many of you in this room knew every single one of those laws had been passed? Because it's happening in the night. They pass them so quick and so deceptively that it's very hard to even keep track of what's happening. But here's the good news. We, the people, are pushing back. The Grassroots Coalition, it grows stronger every single day, and everyone can be part of it. 5 years ago, I was a shy, non-confrontational, leftist voting mom. I certainly was not ready for a national media whirlwind, but God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. And I want to emphasize that if I can be up here talking to all of you today, anyone can get in this fight. I was just telling Jeff Hunt's mom backstage, yes, I live with death threats. I get called mean names all the time, but so what? Once you stop caring what the world says about you, the world has no power over you. After we got our girl out of the gender cult, we didn't just get loud, and we did. We got very loud. We filed a federal lawsuit. Illumin Law and AFPI, it was led by Pam Bondi at the time, took our case. We took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, they have refused to take any of these secret school transition cases, but ours was the only one to get a statement from Supreme Court justices. Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch called our experience troubling and tragic and an issue of great and growing national importance, urging the lower courts to issue decisions in these cases, which led to California 1 month later banning secret school transition. So even in the losses, showing up in Colorado matters. I created Stop Gender Ideology and Erin for Parental-Rights. I encourage you all to follow me on social media. I'm extra spicy on X, so find me over there so that we could help others. And we made a film about our experience, the Art Club movie, which you can watch for free at artclubmovie.com. You can also catch me in the new Angel Studios movie, The Death of Recess, which blasts Colorado. I encourage you all to watch it. They spare no expense, absolutely coming after the state of Colorado for these insane laws. And I co-founded Protect Kids Colorado. Senator Lundberg and I did this to fundamentally shift culture and policy in this state. It's not just about stopping those laws. It's about educating our neighbors. It's about shifting culture. It's about reaching the apathetic and willfully ignorant voters in Colorado. And I am so moved that this has grown into the largest grassroots movement of its kind in Colorado history. I'm so honored to lead it. Protect Kids Colorado is a David versus Goliath story. We had every odd stacked against us. Anyone who's part of the team knows we had no major funder. We had no celebrity endorsement. We were just 3,327 grassroots Colorado citizens and over 500 churches who had had enough and said yes to carrying petitions and getting these signatures. Because protecting kids is the great unifier. It is a universal line in the sand, and I don't think the enemy knew what they were awakening when they messed with our kids. Truly, this movement could not have been more grassroots. Our biggest donor is a middle-class family who cashed out retirement to cover the cost of printing. Of course, we had hoped for a big funder to come through and help us pay for circulators, but that didn't happen, and I understand now that that was God's plan for us. So we dug deep, we stayed faithful, we pushed hard, we grew the team again to 3,327 circulators, and by the grace of God, we activated the churches, Catholic Vote, Truth and Liberty, Flatirons, Brave, Storyline. They did what they had never done before by backing citizen ballot measures. This was a mighty move of God and the people working together, and we got all 3 ballot measures on the ballot this November with a 91% validity rate, which is the highest in Colorado history. So this November, you're all going to be able to vote for the Children Are Not for Sale Act, the Protect Girls Sports Act, and the Protect Kids from Irreversible Sex-Rejecting Surgery Act. I know that's a mouthful. I'm sad we even have to do it, but yes, children are receiving these surgeries in the state of Colorado. In fact, we rank number 10, Children's Hospital Colorado, in the amount that have been done on our kids. So let me just ask this of you all. If you carried a Protect Kids Colorado or notarized a Protect Kids Colorado petition, will you just raise your hand and keep it up? Keep it up. If you signed a petition, will you raise your hand? If you are voting yes on all 3 of these measures, will you raise your hand? This is a We the People movement. It's easy to feel helpless in Colorado. I get it. But I hope that these initiatives are giving you hope that we can take our power back, that we, the people, are not beholden to the monsters under the Golden Dome. We actually have the power to just do things. Now we need all of you to go find 10 people, tell them to find 10 people to vote yes on all 3. We have materials in the back at the Truth and Liberty booth. Please go see those wonderful women. Grab some merchandise from XXXY. These 3 issues winning at the ballot will deal a death blow to the gender cult, the same cult that attacked my little girl and so many others. It will send shockwaves across the state and the entire country. Colorado is now the state to watch. What we achieve here will topple the Democratic Socialists of America and globalist elite dominoes all over the country. Our opposition has $20 million to defeat us. Do we have that? No. But we have truth, we have common sense, we have a growing army of patriots, and with your help, we are going to win in November. Thank you so much, Heidi and team, for having me. Thank you to all of you for being part of the grassroots movement to protect kids here in Colorado. Now let's take our state back.